Hello and welcome back to Bobbin's Minecraft Let's Play featuring the Hoarder's Delight mod pack by Nicole BW. I'm Bobbin and you're watching episode 9. I'm looking at the milkshake making machine that I set up in the last episode, and a quick check of the quest journal shows that it's at 99%, 99.8% actually, and ticking along just fine. I'm going to be very glad when this one finishes because it's taking all the cocoa. And I have set up a new machine you can see off in the background there that needs that cocoa. But before I show you that machine, let's take a look around at some of the other things that have changed. One thing that has changed is I have installed a sugarcane field down here where the blueberries used to be. It is producing sugarcane. It's about to fill the overflow chest. Unfortunately, that's going to be a little bit of a problem, but it should resolve itself once the cocoa is available. The other thing I have done farming-wise is I have set up a wheat field, and so I am producing wheat. Both the wheat and the sugar go in the thing that's using the cocoa. The tower you saw before making living wood is now set up as 6 towers. At the moment they've all got birchwood installed in them. They're also turned off. I installed birchwood just to test. I have not made any pure daisies yet, so I don't actually have any of this working. I've turned it off just because it causes so much noise and lag while it's running. However, I do have some progress to report on Botania. I have set up some minimal mana production just for getting started really, nothing for mass production. And I have set up a runic altar, and I made just a few flowers. I made a hopper hawk and a jaded amaranthus that are here producing more mystical flowers, and those mystical flowers are accumulating in caches here. So far, just a few hundred of each color. That will be enough to go ahead and make the mystical white flowers, so I'll probably do that before the next episode and have all of these things running, and I will be making my living rock and the remainder of my living wood. Oh look, the milkshake's finished. Let's do quests. This quest is now 100% complete, and the reward is a Zavicio shovel, a fish trap, and some fish trap bait. I don't know if I want that yet or not. I'm only going to turn in 2 quests, and right now 4 are complete. Hoarding stuff contains the other 3 that are complete. Smeltery, rubber bars, and buttons were all done last time. I think maybe rubber bars wasn't. So let's look at the rewards on these for comparison. Okay, spawners. These spawn farm animals, and I think the reason they were put in the pack was the idea that you would use these to get some of the meats for the various food quests. I don't think I'm going to. One problem with spawners is that you have to practically be right on top of them for them to do anything, and I don't have a good place here to put them where I can be close enough that the mobs will spawn regularly, and even if I did, I wouldn't want to stay in one place. So I probably will just stow these, and unless some special situation comes up, they will probably never get used. Bouncy gives 127 bars of energetic alloy. That's actually pretty nice. I might have that much energetic alloy already though, so let's look at Press It. Press It has the laser drill pre-charger and the laser drills. These items are from Mine Factory Reloaded. They essentially create ore by operating a mine, if you want to call it that, that's just a shaft down to bedrock, and it produces ore based on a particular color of lens that's installed, I think. I've actually never used this. That is my understanding of it. It works something like that. I think the best quests to just go ahead and turn in are probably Bouncy and Press It. and the other two can wait. In other quest progress, I haven't started anything else on hoarding food yet. Well, actually I have. This is the machine we're going to look at in a little bit, Taste the Rainbow. We're now 398 chocolate sprinkles cakes made. The other one I'm going to set up today during the episode is for Crunchy, which makes nachos. And I think I've got everything in place for that, and we should be able to set that up pretty smoothly. Hoarding energy, I haven't done anything on. Hoarding flowers, you saw my progress just now. I'm not going to turn anything in yet. I've been looking at these quests. Most of these realistically are incredibly difficult. Some of them, like collecting these two basic flowers, are fine, but a lot of these others are kind of a problem. This one maybe not, because I'll have living wood. This one, however, you have to take each of these mana pools that you create from living rock and you have to dip it in a mana pool that's got mana in it. That's not terribly hard. It's a little unusual. But the really tough ones are some of these last ones here. If you look at, let's say, this one, Floating Jaded Amaranthus. In order to create this, we're going to have to create a Jaded Amaranthus, which involves a Rune of Winter, I think. No, it's a Rune of Spring, which means I'm going to have Fire Rune and I think a Water Rune to go with it, as well as a whole bunch of saplings. All of these are just really kind of long and involved. I think the Munch Dew may actually be the worst one. Floating Munch Dew. So to create a floating Munch Dew, you need a Munch Dew. And a Munch Dew involves a Rune of Gluttony. And a Rune of Gluttony, each one of them requires 2 diamonds. So to complete this one, you've got to have 100,000 diamonds. I only have maybe 1,000 diamonds right now. Maybe when I get enough quarried out that I've actually gone and completed the diorite walls, I'll have enough diamonds for that. But I really think what's going to happen on some of these is that the supplies are just going to get batched up and they'll get done pretty late in the process. Hoarding blocks. Several of these are in progress. None of them are done. House is at 18%. It is making more bricks than it was. I diverted the dust that I was generating into converting it to clay. Abbey is at 46% now. Essence Brick is at 65%. And the other one that's sort of begun just a little bit is Holidays. I've turned in 45 silver bell wool, which is really just what I manually chopped getting saplings. But I do have silver bell saplings now. I ended up creating them using the sieve because I wasn't able to find any in the world. So continuing through here at the machines, they're all mostly the same. One that is new is clay blocks. I'm receiving water from down below through an ender tank and putting it in a stone barrel, and then in here it's inserting dust, and whenever the dust comes through it converts to clay and gets pumped out. The kind of elaborate setup here is because you actually do have to put the dust in the top and pull it out the bottom. I was not able to get an Ender IO conduit to insert in the top of it. A hopper works just fine. The only reason for using a stone barrel instead of a wooden one is I had a stone barrel on hand because I used it to create some netherrack earlier. New machines, really nothing. We'll discuss this one a little bit. Alright, this machine makes chocolate sprinkles cakes. And it's fairly elaborate. It's got the same thing going on as the milkshake machine, except that it's got 7 inputs instead of 3. But it is still using this arrangement where it only outputs if all the chests have, or if all the hoppers have something in them. One thing that is different is these hoppers are being filled through cyclic assemblers because there is a pre-crafting step on each of them. This one makes cactus green out of Technicolor Essence. This one makes Rose Red out of Technicolor Essence. This one makes Dandelion Yellow out of Technicolor Essence. I converted part of my field making Minicio into making Technicolor Essence instead. This one is making salt. Salt is made just by boiling water in a pot. So this is producing salt. This one is producing cocoa powder, which still seems to be a bottleneck even though the milkshake quest finished. This one is making sugar from sugar cane, and this one is making flour from wheat. Once all these things are available, they can flow through and come over here where the flour is combined with water in a mixing bowl. The salt also goes in here, I think, to make dough. The dough comes through here, and then each of the different dyes plus the cocoa powder and the sugar are combined with it in order to make a chocolate sprinkles cake. And so far it has made, how many of those has it made? Just a few hundred. 398. So let's come back over here for a second and see what's causing the holdup on the cocoa beans. It's still grinding them into dust here, and it looks like it wants to fill up all this space to do that. I think what I'm going to do to stop it from doing that is just to take and use a dolly and pull down that barrel that's sort of serving as a filter there. Now no more can go in there, and I'll just take and manually deliver the stuff that it gathered in the meantime to get it, and you can see the machine has already kicked off. Cocoa beans right here, and cocoa powder goes in here. Alright, so it's making cakes now, and it's up to 400, and so it's going up pretty fast. It'll be 450 in just a minute here. Alright, so what exciting thing do I have planned today? What I want to do is I want to set up a machine to make nachos. And to make nachos, we're going to need three things. We're going to need a dairy. We're going to need a salt mine. And we're going to need a cornfield. This doesn't look like a cornfield, you say? This is a cornfield. This is the most productive way I have found of producing the harvest craft crops in this mod pack, which is to use a phytogenic insulator, or in this case to use a line of 24 of them. This has only been up for maybe 20 minutes, and it has produced 4,300 corn, which is quite a bit. The way this machine works is it combines a seed with PhytoGrow, and the result is the finished product from the seed, the corn in this case, in the top slot, and one or sometimes two seeds in the yellow slot. So the seeds are simply being recirculated back, and the corn is being skimmed off and going in here. In order to work, this requires power and it requires water. So I have a separate water supply set up for it. This water supply with the blue, blue, white is different from the water supply you saw going to the cakes, which is blue, blue, blue. And of course the salt mine actually has its own independent water supply as well. The need for water in completing some of these quests is fairly high, and so it takes quite a bit of water generation capability to get that going. Now the actual recipe for nachos involves taking a cutting board and combining it with a tortilla and cheese. A tortilla is made from cornmeal and fresh water in a skillet, and cornmeal comes from grinding corn with a mortar and pestle. Cheese, on the other hand, comes from some form of milk combined with salt in a pot. So to actually get this working, to make all of this stuff, I am going to have 4 cyclic assemblers each with a schematic, and then I'll have to have a mortar and pestle, a skillet, and a pot, and I'll have to have corn, which will get made into cornmeal. This tank is going to bring in water. These two ender chests are going to bring in salt and milk, and then of course I will produce cheese. What am I missing? I'm missing the cutting board. I will have to make a cutting board, and I will do that in the next cut. Then I will want to submit it using a QDS, using the same mechanism I do with everything else, where I use a redstone comparator to shut off the manufacturing once the QDS completes. And I'll need a few conduits and pressurized fluid conduits to get it all set up. So let's start by putting some of these things together. And I think the one that I want to start with is probably the corn. So let's come over here and maybe over here start setting up a line that produces corn. So I'll lock in the schematic. And I think for this one I will accept corn in on the top and eject out the right side. So after ejecting out the right side, I should have cornmeal. That's actually what that was producing, was cornmeal. And what I want to do with the cornmeal is I'm going to make tortillas with that. So we're going to need a source of water, which can be this tank that I'll just put on the top. To get this tank to eject automatically into the cyclic assembler, you can flip this so that the blue side is down. Now it's automatically filling with water. That's a noisy tree farm. Alright, got some water there. So to set up the schematic here, we're going to want a skillet and cornmeal and water. So now we're getting that. This of course will have to take input over here on the left. It's also taking input from the top, and I'll have it eject out the right. Next I want to go ahead and set up the final production of the nachos. So this is actually the cheese production. So let's move the cheese production over here. And I need to get the salt in there. And I'm going to have to get the... that doesn't work. To get the fresh milk in there. And I think I will just do that this way. Alright, so on this one I'm going to use the green on the top and the purple on the left. And I'll go ahead and eject out the right side. Alright, so I have milk and salt going in here. There's a pot. Let me quickly set up the schematic before it fills up. Pot, milk, salt. Okay, and then finally the finished product. Got all these laser drill stuff in here. Okay, finished product is going to use the rest of this stuff. And I will set this up to go. I think I'm going to have a little bit of just a small issue with it, because it's not going to go quite the way I would like. Alright, let's input the green on that side, and I think the purple on the top, and eject out the right, because I want to have the QDS on the right with the comparator behind it. And then connect up that thing as usual. Then I'm still going to have to figure out something to do to get all of the stuff from these two side ones. This one is easy. Just run it just like that. Extracts from that side, inserts into there. This one, the side over here that's adjacent to that is blocked, but I can run it around the top. So we'll come out of here, and I'll have to break that connection. Like that. So that will insert on that side. And I think we're going to need to set that to extract. Okay. So in here, I'm going to have cheese coming in the top actually, and tortillas coming in the side. And at this point, I just need to go ahead and make that cutting board, and I can finish setting it up. So let me cut and do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I cleared out some unnecessary clutter in my inventory and made the cutting board. So I think we're ready to finish this machine. Schematic. And we'll put the cutting board in there, and the tortilla, and the cheese, and click OK. And there we have nachos. So let's hook all this up, and I think I'll just bring the item flow in from this side. And I think the, let's see, the inputs here are corn over here, and I'm not actually seeing any other inputs. It's just going to take corn. It is going to use salt and milk, but they're going to be coming in from a different direction. So I'll just hook up the corn over here. And naturally I'm going to run out of conduits. Okay, well, let's go ahead and hook up the power as well. And the item conduits will just follow the power conduit over to this side. And I will have to get power to a couple of other places, like right there. That already, no. And then finally connect this over like that. It's pretty ugly, but I think everything should have power now. That's getting cheese, so obviously this one over here has power. This other side is not getting tortillas, but I think that's just because no corn is coming in yet. This is going to have to be set up to insert corn, so I'm going to have a filter for that, and I'm going to need some more conduits. So I'm going to cut again, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's set this one to insert, and I need it to specifically insert corn, and I see I don't have any corn with me. That should be easy to rectify. Let's just go straight upstairs here. Stack of corn. Now filtering corn. And when we hook up the item flow, alright, we're not going to receive any corn here because I don't think I have it set up, but in principle, when we get corn, then it will make cornmeal. We seem to be having a little bit of a water problem. Oh, let's flip that. So, water's flowing in. It's a little slow because water is also being pulled in somewhere else. So, tortillas, yeah, they're coming over. This thing is running though, which is bad because I forgot to tell it to do that. Okay, so now it is not running. We wasted a bunch of tortillas, but it's not the end of the world. We can always make more of those items. 1% done on cakes. Going back into the quest journal, I'll pick Crunchy, which is the nachos, select the task, and connect it here, and the machine will start functioning again, this time when it's supposed to. So this is basically set up now. I do need to come over here. I had temporarily put a cache in place to hold this corn rather than sending it out across the network. I now want to not do that. I want to go ahead and send it over the network. I think I didn't actually break the connection. I just gave it a higher priority than the overflow and stuck it on there. So I should be able to get corn in there just by taking and reversing this. And this will now get corn both from this cache and from the farm. So going back down here, we're receiving all kinds of corn. Noisy trees. And as it receives tortillas, they just blink in so fast you can't see them, but you can see the effect on the cheese count, and it's submitting them through there. So 86, 87, 88, we're going here. So we now have our next food quest in progress, Crunchy, and this is the first one that's using the Harvest Craft crops. Now what you may have noticed upstairs is that I have one line of these machines, this cornfield, and I have another one that is not complete yet. So I'm going to be setting up another crop here when I figure out which one I want to do next to do it. Now, one of the machines downstairs that I did not show off is actually making this phytogen, or phytogrow. I see that I've run out. Let me come down to this machine and turn it on, because I had turned it off because I was just overflowing in phytogrow. Phytogrow is made from 3 different things. It's made from charcoal dust, not actually charcoal as shown here, slag, and niter. And the slag is one of the reasons why I switched to the induction smelters for smelting ores, because when you do that it generates slag as a side effect. At some point, even with that, I will run out of slag. And then what I'll do is I'll set up a pulverizer and an induction smelter and just have a small set of iron bars that just circulate through it, and it will effectively be a machine that consumes sand and produces slag. So if this actually had charcoal dust in it, which it doesn't because this pulverizer is turned off, because it's not getting any energy, that's what I did. I turned the energy off to this machine. That's how I stopped it. So if I turn the energy back on, there we go. It'll start pulverizing charcoal and producing phytogrow. One combined produces half a stack of phytogrow, so it produces a great deal. The way that you get, I explained how you get slag. The way you get niter is by grinding up sandstone. I have been just grinding up the sandstone as I mined it out of the desert here. Obviously, you can make sandstone from sand. If you do it that way, it's a losing proposition. You do gradually lose sand, but it's easy to make more sand, so that solves that issue. Anyway, I think we're done for this episode. I've shown everything I need to show, and I will get to work on something else. We're going to have plenty of quests done to turn in pretty soon, and I will probably be setting up some more farms and some more cornfield type farms for the harvest craft crops and get some more stuff going. I'll probably have to expand this area, but we'll see how I progress on that. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.